You don't lose power when you stay silent. You lose power when you explain yourself to people who don't walk your path. My dear friends, many of you are standing at the edge of something new, a new year, a new chapter, a new version of yourself. But here is the struggle. Your dreams are loud inside you, yet the world around you is noisy with opinions. Everyone wants to know your plans. Everyone wants to give advice. Everyone wants to comment on your life without paying the price of your discipline. So today, let me share a gentle truth, a truth that can protect your energy, your faith, and your future. Sometimes the most powerful growth happens quietly. There is a quiet truth most people learn too late in life. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. When a dream is born inside you, it is delicate. It is not yet strong enough to fight criticism. It is not yet tall enough to cast a shadow. It is still becoming. And in that becoming, silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. Many people fail not because their dreams were wrong, but because they shared them too early with the wrong ears. You see, everyone listens from their own level of courage. A person who never dared will not understand your risk. A person who settled will not understand your hunger. A person who quit will not understand your patience. So when you tell them your plans, they don't respond to your future. They respond from their past. They say things like, "Be realistic. People like us don't do that. What if it doesn't work?" And slowly, unknowingly, their doubt becomes a weight on your faith. A vision is like a seed. It does not need discussion. It needs darkness, depth, and time. If you keep digging the soil to show everyone how much has it grown today, you will kill what could have become a forest. Some people are not meant to water your dream. They are meant to watch it bloom from a distance. This is why wise people move quietly in the beginning. They don't announce, they don't justify, they don't explain. Not because they are hiding, but because they are protecting. Protection of energy is spiritual intelligence. Every conversation costs something. Every explanation drains focus. Every unnecessary opinion weakens clarity. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need enough belief to keep going when nobody is clapping. There is also another deeper truth. When you talk too much about your plans, your mind mistakes words for work. You feel productive just by speaking. But growth doesn't come from conversation. It comes from commitment. The loudest trees in the forest are often the weakest. The strongest roots grow silently underground. Life works the same way. Those who are constantly announcing their moves are often seeking validation. Those who are quietly building are driven by purpose. And purpose does not need approval. Some people want access to your vision, not to support it, but to measure it, judge it, or secretly compare it with their own lives. They ask questions, not to help you, but to limit you. This is why silence is not arrogance, it is emotional maturity. When you stop explaining your dreams, you stop negotiating with doubt, you begin to listen more to your inner voice and less to external noise. You begin to work when nobody is watching. You begin to grow when nobody is cheering. And that is where real transformation happens. Later, when results appear, people will say, "You changed so suddenly," but you will smile because you know nothing was sudden. It was silent discipline. It was unseen effort. It was quiet faith. Remember this gently. Everyone does not need a front row seat to your becoming. Some people are meant to see the process. Most are only meant to see the result. Protect your vision, not with fear, but with wisdom. Move quietly, grow deeply. Let life reveal your progress at the right time. There is something subtle that happens when you explain yourself too much. You don't notice it immediately, but slowly your strength leaks. Every time you explain your plans, your choices, your direction, you hand over your power, because explanation is not neutral, it invites judgment, and judgment invites doubt. Most people think they explain themselves to be understood, but the truth is, people don't understand you better because you explain. They understand you only to the level of their own awareness. When you explain your journey to someone who has never walked that road, you are not clarifying. You are negotiating your confidence, and every negotiation costs energy. Energy is sacred, it is limited, and it must be spent wisely. The mind has a strange habit. When you talk about something important repeatedly, the mind feels as if progress has been made. Amin is released. You feel satisfied. You feel heard. But nothing has actually changed. This is one of the biggest traps of modern life. Talking replaces doing. Announcing replaces acting. Explaining replaces executing. That is why many people feel exhausted. Without doing meaningful work, they spend all their energy on conversations, defending their choices, answering questions, responding to opinions. By the time it's time to work, they are emotionally tired. Silence preserves strength. When you stop explaining, you stop performing for others, you stop living for reactions, you start living for results, and results require focus. Think about the most disciplined people you know. They are not loud, they are not constantly talking about their routine. They are consistent, calm, and quiet because discipline loves privacy. When you explain yourself too much, you unconsciously give people permission to interfere. They suggest changes, they warn you, they question your timing, they project their fears, and suddenly, what was once a clear inner calling becomes a confused mental debate. Silence removes interference. It gives your intuition space to breathe. It allows clarity to settle. It strengthens your resolve. There is also another deeper layer. When you explain yourself, you start seeking agreement. And when agreement becomes necessary, courage disappears. Because courage is often lonely. Most meaningful decisions in life are misunderstood in the beginning. If you wait for erroni to approve, you will never move. That is why silence is a form of self-respect. It says, I trust my process enough not to justify it. It does not mean you are rude. It means you are rooted. You answer when needed. You speak when it matters. But you don't waste words where they bring no growth. In silence, your actions become sharper. Your time becomes cleaner. Your mind becomes calmer. You begin to work not to prove, but to progress, and something beautiful happens. The energy you once spent explaining now fuels execution. You wake up with less anxiety. You move with less pressure. You act with more intention. Silence also teaches patience because when nobody knows your plans, there is no urgency to impress. You allow things to unfold naturally. You respect timing. You trust the process. And that trust multiplies strength. Later, when results arrive, they arrive quietly too, but powerfully. No arguments, no explanations, no debates, just reality. And reality speaks without effort. So remember this gently. If you feel drained, ask yourself, am I working too little or explaining too much? Protect your energy. Use your words sparingly. Let your actions carry weight. Silence is not absence. It is presence without noise. And presence, my friend, is power. There comes a moment in life when you realize something very liberating. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to convince every person. You don't have to defend your path because results do what explanations never can. Most people waste years trying to prove they are right. They argue, they justify, they compare, but proof is exhausting and it rarely changes minds. Results, on the other hand, are effortless. When you speak too early, you invite resistance. People challenge what they can't see yet. They question what hasn't taken shape. But when you work quietly, you remove the stage for debate. Nobody argues with outcomes. A seed doesn't fight the soil. It grows. And one day, the tree stands tall without explaining how it got there. Life works the same way. When you move in silence, people don't get a chance to doubt your direction. They don't interfere. They don't distract you. They only notice when something has already changed. That is the power of results. They arrive complete. They arrive undeniable. Words invite opinions. Results command respect. There is also a spiritual lesson here. When you focus on outcomes, your ego softens. You stop trying to look capable and start becoming capable. You stop worrying about how you are perceived and start aligning with what you are meant to do. Silence humbles you because when nobody is watching, there is no applause to chase. Only integrity remains, and integrity builds excellence. Most people want recognition before readiness. They want appreciation before effort. They want credit before contribution. But life does not work that way. Nature teaches patience. Rain falls quietly, roots grow invisibly, but the fruit appear at the right time. When your work speaks, your mouth can rest. There is also something very protective about letting results speak. It saves you from unnecessary emotional battles. You don't feel the need to respond to critics. You don't react to comments. You don't waste energy on comparison. You simply continue. And in continuing, you grow stronger. Many people fail because they stop to answer every doubt. They pause their progress to address negativity. But the wise keep moving. They understand one thing clearly. The same people who doubt you today will admire you tomorrow when the evidence is visible, not because they changed, but because the truth became clear. Results bring clarity. They also bring closure. No more questions, no more explanations, no more justifications. Just reality. And reality has a way of humbling everyone. When success arrives quietly, it is more sustainable. There is less pride, less pressure, less fear of loss, because you know this was built patiently, not impulsively. Silence also prepares you emotionally. It strengthens your resilience. It teaches you to rely on effort, not applause, and that creates inner stability. When life gets difficult, you don't collapse, because your confidence is not borrowed from others. It is built from experience. So let people talk. Let them speculate. Let them underestimate. Do not interrupt them with explanations. Interrupt them with excellence. When the work is done, when the growth is visible, when the sea henge is undeniable, silence will smile, because results never argue. They simply stand. And in that standing, every doubt fades. There is a depth to silence that most people misunderstand. They think silence is empty, but silence is full of awareness, full of prayer, full of alignment. When you stop announcing your journey to the world, you begin speaking more honestly with God. Noise pulls us outward, silence pulls us inward, and growth always begins inside. Faith does not need an audience. It needs sincerity. When you constantly talk about your plans, your attention moves away from trust and toward validation. You begin to look for approval instead of guidance. But when you walk quietly, you create space for faith to breathe. In silence, you hear the whispers that noise drowns out. You begin to notice signs. You begin to feel intuition. You begin to sense timing. This is not accidental. It is spiritual intelligence. Many of life's biggest decisions cannot be debated into existence. They must be felt, trusted, and taken. Silence strengthens that trust. When nobody knows your next step, you rely less on opinions and more on inner conviction. And conviction is the backbone of faith. Faith grows stronger when it is practiced privately. Just like prayer, the most powerful prayers are not performed, they are whispered. In silence, setbacks feel different too. When things don't go as planned, you don't feel embarrassed, you don't feel exposed, because nobody was watching. You process failure as feedback, not as public defeat. This gives you courage to try again. Public journeys create pressure, private journeys create patience, and patience deepens faith. When you move silently, you stop measuring progress through applause, you start measuring it through peace. Peace becomes your compass. You ask yourself, does this align with my values? Does this strengthen my character? Does this bring me closer to my purpose? These are faith-driven questions. Noise asks, how does this look? Silence asks, how does this feel in my soul? And the soul always knows. There is also humility in silent faith. You stop assuming you know everything. You remain teachable. You allow life to shape you. You don't rush God's timing. You don't demand outcomes. You walk with trust. Faith does not mean certainty. It means commitment without guarantees. Silence helps you carry uncertainty without anxiety. Because when the path is quiet, your heart listens better. You begin to accept detours as divine redirections. You see delays as preparation. And slowly, gently, faith becomes less about results and more about relationship. Relationship with purpose. Relationship with truth. Relationship with something higher than ego. This is why people who move silently often appear calm. They are not calmer because life is easy. They are calm because they are anchored in trust. Silence also teaches surrender. You learn that not everything needs to be controlled or explored. Instead, some things simply need to be trusted. And trust is the highest form of faith. So if you're walking quietly right now, if nobody knows your struggles, if nobody sees your effort, take heart. God sees the unseen. And what is grown in silence often stands strongest in the storm. There is a subtle danger in noise that many people never notice. Noise feeds ego. Silence shapes character. When your journey becomes public too early, your identity starts depending on recognition. You begin to measure worth by response. You chase appreciation instead of alignment. But when you grow quietly, there is no stage, no spotlight, no performance, only honesty remains. Silence strips away the need to impress. It reveals who you are when nobody is watching, and that is where character is formed. Character is not built in applause. It is built in discipline, in restraint, in doing the right thing. Without being seen, loud success can inflate pride. Silent growth builds humility. When you move quietly, you don't rush milestones just to show progress. You respect the process. You don't compare timelines. You don't compete with appearances. You compete only with who you were yesterday. This keeps your heart clean. Ego constantly asks, am I ahead? Am I noticed? Am I admired? Character asks, am I consistent? Am I improving? Am I becoming better? Silence trains you to answer the second set of questions when nobody is clapping. You learn why you are really doing this. Is it for pride, say, or for purpose? This clarity is powerful. People who grow silently are less shaken by criticism because they were not fueled by praise. To begin with, they don't rise too high with compliments. They don't fall too low with rejection. They remain centered. That balance is rare. Noise also tempts shortcuts. When people are watching, there is pressure to show progress quickly, and pressure leads to compromise. But silence allows patience. Patience allows mastery. Mastery takes time, and time demands humility. There is also something very grounding about not being constantly seen. You make mistakes privately, You learn quietly, you improve steadily, no shame, no embarrassment, just growth. This builds resilience. You become less reactive, less defensive, less ego driven. You listen more, you observe more, you absorb more. Silence makes you a student of life, and students grow faster than performers. Ego wants attention, character wants depth, ego wants quick wins, character wants lasting impact, ego wants validation, character wants values. When you choose silence, you choose depth over display. You allow your roots to go deeper, then your branches go wide, and deep roots hold strong in storms. People with loud success often struggle when things go wrong, because their identity was tied to applause. People with silent growth remain steady even in loss, because their identity is rooted in values. This is real strength. Silence also keeps you grateful. When progress is private, you notice small wins. You appreciate effort. You honor discipline. Gratitude grows, and gratitude protects the heart from pride. So if your growth feels unnoticed right now, understand this: you are being shaped, not ignored. Life is building your character before revealing your capacity, and that order matters. Because success without character is dangerous, but character with patience leads to fulfillment. One of the quiet blessings of moving in silence is protection from negative influence. Not everyone who speaks into your life means harm, but not everyone who means well is meant to advise you. When you announce your plans openly, you invite voices, some supportive, some doubtful, some fearful, and fear is contagious. People don't always project negativity because they want you to fail. Often they project because they don't want you to change. Your growth threatens their comfort. Your discipline reminds them of what they avoided. So they speak from insecurity, not wisdom. They say things like, "Why are you working so hard? Take it easy. You're overthinking. Life is meant to be enjoyed." What they don't see is that discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Silence protects you from absorbing these voices, because every repeated idea eventually becomes belief. When you hear doubt often enough, even strong faith begins to shake. Silence creates a boundary. It does not mean isolation, it means selective access. You choose carefully who gets to influence your mind. The mind is sacred space. Negative influence rarely arrives aggressively. It comes subtly, as concern, as advice, as realism, but realism without vision becomes limitation. When you move silently, you reduce exposure to discouragement. You protect your momentum. Momentum is fragile in the beginning. It needs consistency, not conversation. Silence also protects you from comparison. When people know what you are doing, they begin comparing your pace, your progress, your results, and comparison steals joy. You start questioning yourself unnecessarily. You lose confidence, you rush. But when your journey is private, you move at your own rhythm, you honor your timing. Negative influence also shows up as doubt, disguised as logic. People say, "Be practical, think about the risks, have a backup." Planning is wise. Fear-based thinking is not. Silence allows you to differentiate between the two. You learn to listen inwardly. You consult mentors, not crowds. You seek guidance, not gossip. This discernment is powerful because too many voices create confusion. Confusion kills consistency. Silence simplifies life. You know what you need to do today. You do it. No explanation, no justification, just action. This also strengthens emotional independence. You stop needing reassurance. You stop seeking approval. Your confidence becomes internal, and internal confidence cannot be shaken easily. Negative influence loses power. When it is not fed, silence starves doubt. It creates mental clarity. It sharpens focus. You become more resilient, even when criticism eventually comes. It doesn't penetrate deeply, because your foundation was built quietly. So if you are walking silently right now, understand this. You are not hiding, you are guarding your growth. And guarded growth has a better chance of survival. There is a quiet relationship between silence and consistency. Consistency thrives in privacy. When you announce your goals publicly, pressure enters the picture, not healthy pressure, performative pressure. You begin to act to meet expectations rather than to honor commitment. But when nobody knows what you are doing, you show up for one reason only: integrity. Integrity does not need witnesses. The most powerful habits are formed when no one is watching. Early mornings, etma, LL sacrifices, daily repetition. These things are not glamorous. They don't impress anyone. And that is exactly why they work. Silence removes the temptation to exaggerate progress. You don't feel the need to pretend. You don't need to post milestones before they are meaningful. You can be honest with yourself. Consistency grows when honesty exists. Most people break habits because they overpromise and underprepare. They announce goals loudly and quit quietly. But those who move silently, prepare deeply, they understand that motivation fluctuates, discipline remains, and discipline does not need applause. Privacy allows failure without shame. You miss a day, you adjust, you continue. No public embarrassment, no emotional collapse, just correction. This makes consistency sustainable. Silence also helps you focus on systems, not outcomes. You stop obsessing over results. You focus on showing up, and results take care of themselves. Consistency loves routine. Routine loves simplicity. Simplicity loves silence. When your life is quiet, your habits become stronger. You wake up knowing what needs to be done. No announcements, no updates, no explanations, just execution. There is also a spiritual layer to this. When you work quietly, your ego is not involved. You don't feel superior for working hard. You don't feel discouraged. When progress is slow, you simply continue. This neutrality is powerful. It keeps you balanced. Consistency also builds trust, self-trust. Every day you show up quietly. You tell yourself, I can rely on me, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. People often ask, how do you stay consistent? The answer is simple. Remove the audience. Do things because they matter, not because they are seen. Consistency built in silence outlasts motivation built on excitement. Because excitement fades, habits remain. Later, when success becomes visible, people assume it was talent, but you will know. It was consistent, silent, steady, unseen consistency. And that kind of growth is unshakable. There is a wisdom in waiting that only silence can teach you. Timing is everything in life, not speed, not noise. Timing. When you announce your plans too early, you place yourself under unnecessary pressure. Pressure to prove, pressure to perform, pressure to succeed quickly. But growth is not a race, it is a rhythm. Silence allows you to respect that rhythm. In quiet preparation, you are free to slow down when needed and speed up when ready. No one is watching the clock, no one is counting your steps, no one is measuring your progress. So you move with intelligence, not impulse. Life punishes haste, and it rewards patience. Many failures happen not because the idea was wrong, but because the timing was forced. People revealed plans before they were ready. They launched before they were prepared. They spoke before they were stable. Silence saves you from premature exposure. It gives you time to learn, time to refine, time to fail privately and improve quietly. Timing also requires emotional maturity. Sometimes you are not rejected, you are just early. Silence helps you accept that without bitterness. When you move quietly, you don't announce deadlines to the world. You allow life to align naturally. Opportunities meet preparation, and preparation takes time. Silence teaches patience without frustration, because when nobody knows your plans, there is no urgency to show progress. You don't feel behind, you don't feel rushed, you feel present, and presence improves judgment. You make better decisions, you avoid shortcuts, you respect the process. Timing is also spiritual. There are seasons for building and seasons for revealing. Silence honors seasons. You don't harvest in winter, you don't plant in a storm, you wait. And waiting, when done with faith, is not wasted time, it is strengthening time. Many people mistake waiting for stagnation, but waiting with discipline is preparation. Silence keeps you grounded during this phase. It prevents discouragement. It protects hope. When the moment is right, you won't need to announce yourself. Life will introduce you. Doors will open naturally. People will notice without explanation. Because readiness has a presence, and presence cannot be faked. So if things feel slow right now, don't panic. Slow does not mean wrong. Quiet does not mean lost. It often means aligned. Trust timing. Respect silence. Prepare deeply, because when the time comes, you will step forward confidently. Not hurried, not desperate, but ready. There is a quiet reward waiting for those who move in silence. It is not applause, it is not recognition, it is peaceful. Peace is what remains when you stop explaining your life to others. When your journey is private, your mind becomes lighter, your heart becomes steadier, your emotions become less reactive. You are no longer living under observation, no expectations to meet, no image to maintain, no comparisons to survive, just you, your effort, and your purpose. Silence frees you from the weight of performance. Many people are exhausted, not because they work too hard, but because they live too publicly. They feel watched, judged, measured, and that constant awareness creates anxiety. When you move silently, that anxiety dissolves. You stop proving, you start progressing. Peace comes when your actions align with your values, not with opinions. When nobody knows your next move, there is no pressure for it to succeed immediately. You give yourself permission to learn, to adapt, to evolve. Peace grows when your self-worth is no longer tied to response. You don't feel high when praised. You don't feel broken when criticized. You remain centered. This emotional stability is one of the greatest forms of success. Silence also deepens gratitude. You begin to appreciate small victories. You notice growth in patience, strength in discipline, clarity in thought. Gratitude replaces urgency, and a grateful heart is a peaceful heart. Peace also sharpens focus. When the mind is calm, decisions become clearer. You are not rushed, you are not reactive, you are intentional. This intentional living creates fulfillment, not the loud kind of happiness, but the quiet, lasting kind. The kind you feel when you know you are becoming who you are meant to be. And finally, silence teaches you that life is not about being seen, it is about being aligned. Aligned with truth, aligned with values, aligned with purpose. When you stop competing, you start contributing. When you stop announcing, you start attracting. And when you stop explaining, you start enjoying. So remember this, my friend, as you walk into 2026 and beyond, move quietly, work honestly, trust deeply, Grow patiently. Let your life speak when the time is right, because peace is not found in being known by everyone. It is found in being known by your conscience and aligned with something higher. And when peace walks with you, success follows naturally. So, my dear friends, remember this as you walk forward in life. Don't let your silence make you invisible. Let it make you unstoppable. You don't need to announce your struggle. You don't need to explain your journey. You don't need to prove your worth to the world. Do your work sincerely. Walk your path honestly. Leave the results to God. Because when effort is pure and intention is right, life has a beautiful way of rewarding you. At the perfect time, trust the process, trust the timing, and most importantly, trust yourself. Move quietly, grow deeply, serve humbly. And one day, without noise, without pride, without force, your life will speak so clearly that even silence will sound like success. That is not just motivation, that is faith in action.